Hi, welcome to another video on Mach4. In this video I'm going to be concentrating on setting up a basic M6 manual tool change. The M6 macro, as I like to call them, in Mach4, or basically any machine, it is not consistent. It needs to be programmed and set up to your specific machine. So all the people that post on the forums that the M6 command doesn't work, well, you obviously haven't gone into it and had a look at it to find out what is there and what you can change to make it specific for your machine. So I'm going to do a Bob basic one in this video, as I said. And we're going to be using, if you go into your operator and go into edit and debug scripts, you can find your M6 command, which your basic one is set there. Set or sat, I don't know. So this is our M6 as comes with Mach4, and just to give you what it does, this is our function itself. This is our M6 code. Going by the guidelines, it's making a function of M6, and that's where it finishes. When you put an M6 in an MDI or a G code, ask for an M6, this is what it will run in between here. This part on the end is for when you're in this editor, when you're editing the script. The function M6 will not run, it will just assign a function and that's it. This just tells it, if you're in the editor, run that function, which is very handy when you're in the debugging process like what we are now. So what's this code doing as is out the box? Well, the top three lines are assigning local variables. First one is our Mac instance. The second one, selected tool, is what the M6 command has asked you to change your tool to. The current tool is the tool that Mac assumes is in your spindle at that time. The bottom three, Mac get instance, tool get selected, tool get current, all get assigned to those three local variables. The MC control set last error is going to put the press cycle start to finish the tool change down in the box here, just so you can see it. It's then going to execute a G-code command, which is going to send your Z axis to 0. So it's going to move away from your workpiece to enable you a bit of room to change the tool. The MC control tool change manual will just let you know that manual tool change is in progress, and you can press the cycle start to continue. After that, it's going to tell you the next tool you need to set, selected tool. The current tool in there is the current tool. This again will go down here just to let the user know. And lastly, it's going to set the current tool to the selected tool, so they're both equal. So when you come up with another tool change, it will know exactly what tool is in the spindle. So to start with, let's get this set up to write our own M6. So that's the M6 that's being used. I'm going to get rid of that. The top, I'm going to change this. Instead of declaring the variable then assigning something to the variable, we can do that all at once. Get rid of them, that's from different language. I used to use them in PHP to denote the end of a line. Bit wrong that, we'll soon delete that. So that's all we need at the top there. Now to start debugging, to find out what you got, what it's actually going to do, just click disable on that before I forget. If you press F5 within your debugger, it will start running the script, and you press F11 to jump forward. So we're going to declare 3 variables: a local instance, the local selected tool, and the local current tool. But when you're debugging, how do you know that's picked up what you wanted it to pick up? Well, if you take your cursor and put it over the top of that variable, it will tell you what now is assigned to that variable. So current tool at this moment is equal to number 1. Your selected tool is equal to number 1. So strictly speaking, why would you want to do a tool change when they're both identical? So we're going to add our first piece of code in here to make it unique. If you press Shift and F5, that will quit out your debugger, and your F2 will get rid of the window at the bottom. So what can we put in here? Let's stick an if statement. If a selected tool is equal to current tool, then is what we can do is simply return. Basically, don't run it, just don't run the tool change. Else we can do something else in between there. I'm not forgetting to that. So is what will happen here now. It will go, it'll pick up your variables, so it knows them. It knows that's a 1, it knows that's a 1. If the selected tool, if them two are both equal, then it's going to quit out of it. It's not going to need to run the tool change at all. It can just go. So how can we test this theory out? Well, if we take that return, and we don't need the 0, if we take that return, we're going to put a WX message box in there. We're going to put on here, no need for tool change. I don't normally put anything like this, it might just be a load of letters just to make it quick. And if the numbers ain't equal, again we'll do another message box. And we'll change that to need tool change. So if you go into your debugger now again, press F5 and then use your F11 to jog through it. Before it runs that, if you highlight over, it's going to ask if 1 is equal to 1, then do this, which is no need for tool change. You press your Shift and F5 to quit out of that, and on your Mach4 screen just change your tool number there to a number 2. We'll go back in here and we'll run it again. Press F5 and then your F11. Let's go back to where we were, which is there. So now it knows the selected tool that we wanted, because with an M6, if you don't tell it what tool number you want, it will automatically assume you want tool number 1. So the tool we're asking for is number 1, and our current tool is number 2. So if you press F11 now, it knows they're not equal, so you'll need to do a tool change. That's how an if and if I need some new teeth. That's an if and else statement. That's how they work on there. That's a quick and easy way using message boxes just to see if it's going to work. So what's the first thing we need to do with our M6 code? Well, just the same as it comes with the M6 with Mach4, we need to get our Z axis into a safe zone, away from our workpiece, and so it's easier for us to change the tool. We can do this by using an MC control G code of execute wait. We use the execute wait so nothing else will happen until that Z axis is in its safe spot where you tell it to go. So what we're going to pass to that is our instance, which we declared earlier on, and then we're going to we're going to assign the G code to it, or tell it to run this G code. We're going to use a G90 for absolute distance, and then we're going to use our machine coordinates, which is a G53, and then we're going to wrap. I really need some new teeth. We're going to send our Z axis to 0, and of course we'll close it off there. So what we're going to need to do is, let's give this a quick try for real. You're going to need to close that editor down. If it needs saving, then you're going to need saving. But for that M6 to become active in Mach4, you need to shut down Mach4 and open it back up so it's in there. I've already done it in the background to, well, just to save time really. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my machine and I'm going to jog it. You'll have to forgive me if I look like I don't know my way around Mach4, because I don't on this screen, I have my own. If I take the Z axis down as slow as I can, obviously. Right, I'm going to go to the MDI panel and I'm going to do an M6 command. Press cycle start to start it. It tells me there's no need for a tool change because our tool is already set at number 1. There's no T in front of that to say I want tool number 1, 2, 3 or 4. So it's not going to do anything. Let's change our tool to number 2. See what happens then when we run the M6 command. As you can see, the Z axis is now getting into a safe position as we asked, and there's our message box telling us we need to do a tool change, which we're going to do. So if we go back in to our M6 script, we'll just have a quick tidy up in here so we ain't got so much to do later. We don't want that to keep giving us a message box every time we try and run this. So what we're going to do, we're going to change this to an MC command of MC controller set last error. So we can set this, then put your instance in. Oops, why you got 2 of them? Because I put 2 in, that's why. So we'll give it a message that it's going to put down the bottom, just for our reference if you like. So we can put tool changed, activated, not required. It'll do me anything you like, you'll think of something else. So that's what we got there. we're going to leave the message box down the bottom there, so when we know we're at the end of this if statement. So instead of putting need to do a tool change, let's just put tool change finished. So that's cleaned it up a little bit. That's good. Make a bit more space. Right, so now we're going to need to put our spindle in a spot that we can change the tool as easy as possible. If you've got an 8 foot by 4 foot table and it just so happens it calls the M6 command while it's in the centre of that table, you've got some stretching to do to try and change that tool. So we're going to want to move our axis to the front or into a comfortable spot where you feel it's right to do a tool change. So this is going to be in the form of another G-code execute wait. So we can take this one here, we can copy it and paste it in there. Obviously it's not going to be the Z axis, it's going to be the X and the Y axis. I'll put 0.0 in there for now, but what's going on here? There we go, that's better. To get these coordinates we're going to use here, we're going to need to get the machine coordinates. So with your machine all enabled, so what I'm going to do is jog to a spot I think will be comfortable for me. Let's go the right way to do a tool change. So if I look at my machine coordinates now, I can take them coordinates for the X and Y and drop them in here. They don't have to be exact, so I can put that at 260. And I can put the Y at 50. That'll do me. So that's got our axis where we're going to want that to be. So within our M6 function, we've now got our Z axis to a safe height, and we've moved the X and Y into a position for us to change the tool. So let's tell the machine operator now what tool they need to put in. We can do this by setting another local variable, and I'm going to call this change 2, and we're going to use another Mach command called MC tool get description from the instance, and the tool we're going to select in here is the tool that we've asked for the tool change to, so we can tell them what that tool is called. So you can either type it in or just copy and paste it, because I'm getting lazy. So now, excuse me, Mach4 now knows what the change to variable is, but now let's tell the operator what it is with another famous message box. All we need to pass into there is a little message to the user of what to do. So we're going to put this as no, not this, I'm typing what I'm saying. Let's put please change to tool, let's say it's tool, put a space, in fact I'm going to do number, tool number, yeah, let's do tool number, we'll put 2 dots which you put them in between any string and variable, they join on. So I'm going to put in here selected tool, and I'm going to add on the description of it. In fact, I'm getting a bit muddled up here, but I'll get there in a minute. Tool number 2. I need a space, so I was right there. Stick a space in it. And then we'll stick on there change to. Join up the end of this, and we'll put in and press OK to continue. Close that off, and close the command off itself. So it looks like to me. If you press an F7, I'll do a quick compile. If there's any errors in it, then Mach4 will soon let you know that it's not going to work. So let's go and give this a little go to make sure it works. So if you close down there, you're going to need to save it. You're going to need to quit out of Mach4 again now and reload it, which will then Mach4 will compile the M6 function for you into Mach4. Right, I've got Mach4 loaded up again. I've homed all my axes and I've stuck the machine in a fictitious place so we can run the code from it. So everything's enabled. I'm going to go to the MDI and I'm going to do an M6 command. Press cycle start. As you can see, it's done nothing. I've set my tool to tool number 1 so we could test that bit we needed there, which Toolchange activated but not required. So we know that's working. So let's change our tool here onto number 2 again, and let's run the command now. Well, that's our Z-axis going to its safe place, and the X and Y move into the coordinates that we set. The message box that we set up, please change to tool number 1, test tool 1, and press OK to continue. We'll press OK. That takes us to the end of our tool change. If you're wondering where the descriptions are coming from the tools, you've got a tool table here, well, tool offsets in Mach4, and I've just set 4 up there just to use for this demonstration purposes. Well, I'm going to have to call that it for part 1, because I think we're coming up to the 25-minute mark by now. By the time this is compiled, it's going to take some time to upload. So in part 2 is we're going to progress this, and we're going to record the X and Y coordinates before we do a tool change, so we can return the spindle back to its original position. But because we're going to change the bit in the spindle, our Z reference is now going to be out. So we're going to add a little function into there to re-reference our tool so its Z position is exactly the same as the tool we took back out. We're going to re-reference it all. So the machine basically, for its M6, is going to raise the Z axis, move to a tool change position, we'll put a new tool in, and then it will re-reference the Z for us and go back to its original spot, from where it can continue then with the G code that it was running. So I'll see you in part 2.